It's still Saturday, May 14th, 2022. Hope everybody out there is having a good evening. Start off with saying if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. We're trying to hit 500 by the end of the month. And I thank every one of you who has subscribed already, and feel free to share any of my videos. Talk to you a little bit about, some people think when the world goes to crap, they're just going to move out in the woods and live off of the animals in the woods. I've heard that a lot. People will say, well, I'll just go to the woods and live. Number one, if you haven't ever spent time in the woods other than camping, there's a lot more in the woods, and there's a lot to hunting and fishing and everything, especially in a survival situation. You gotta have water, you gotta have shelter, you gotta have fire and food. But what happened in my area back during the Depression, from what I've learned from the old timers, we have deer everywhere now. I mean, they're just running everywhere. But during the 1950s and 60s, after the Depression, it was very rare to see a deer when they were hunting. And of course, we got restocked here in Alabama from different areas of the state. They brought deers in and brought them out here. If you ever look at a rut map, if you know anything about deer hunting, a lot of people try to hunt the rut. Well, if you look at Alabama, there's different time frames. Every county of the state almost has a different time frame of when the rut is. But to get back to my point here is, they shot out most of the wild game during the Depression, and there wasn't hardly any people out here on the mountain. And what I mean by that, there were families out here, don't get me wrong, but from the time, like my grandparents would tell me how many people used to live out here, a lot of people knew everybody that lived out here. Well, now we have 10, 20 times the amount of people living in our area. And if they could shoot out a lot of the wild game, especially the deers and stuff back then when there wasn't that many people living here, imagine how bad it would be, if everybody that's in this community now went out to get a deer. Number one, you would have a lot of wasted meat, because a lot of people don't know how to prepare the deer. Once they kill it, they don't know how to gut it, they don't know how to, cut the meat up, they don't know how to preserve it. You got to stop and think, no refrigerators, no ice, things like that. You don't have no way to store it, so you're going to have a lot of wasted deer. Someone would shoot them and just take the pieces off that they want to eat, and that would be it, and the rest of the deer would just lay there more than likely. I mean, I would think our area would probably be shot out within a few months. I may be wrong on that. A lot of families out here, they own big tracts of land, and they probably can control where, who's on their property. The issue comes, there's people that live out here that's not here all the time. This is their summer vacation home place, or they come out in the winter and things like that. People would just go to the woods and shoot just about everything that moves, is what I'm trying to say, as far as meat wise. And you're going to have a lot of waste in it because people don't know how to preserve it. You got to know how to smoke it. You got to know how to salt it. You got to know how to preserve this meat. You got to know how to can it. You got to know how to can without electricity too. That's some people don't know how to do that. They were canning back in the old days with wood cook stoves. So if I was you, I would recommend ordering some books, or going to your local library and get books on how to preserve meat the old-fashioned way. Try to look for books that are has recipes and the ways they did it, 1700s, 1800s time frame. Because you got to think outside the box here. You got to think, if I shoot a deer, how can I preserve it with absolutely no power? How can I do this? You want to look into them things now while you're still able to get knowledge on it, because once all this happens, people are not going to be super friendly, more than likely. You're going to have neighbors that really crack down and be like, hey, you're not hunting here, you're not, I'm not helping you do nothing, you've had all this time to figure it out on your own. I was lucky enough to grow up with grandparents that can, or family members that canned and stuff like that, so I learned how to do it from them. My generation here, there's not a lot of people that still do the canning and stuff. Number one, I'll tell you, it's cheaper to go buy a can of beans, or it's cheaper to go buy, something that you're wanting. It's cheaper to buy it in a can already at the grocery store. But at least if you're growing it, you know what's in it, you know what you're canning. You buy stuff at the store, and I'm firmly, go out and stock up on beans and stuff like that. Yes, I'm telling you that. But you need to learn how to can and how to preserve meat, vegetables, all this stuff. You need to learn how to do it now while you're still able to get help to do it. Some people think when the world goes, kaput to crap, no stores or nothing, that people are just going to be super friendly and be like, hey, come on over, I'll teach you how to do that. It's not going to be like that. You're going to see people that you've never thought in your life would be like, hey, don't come over here, don't ask me for nothing, you stay over there and I stay over here. That's the way it's going to be. This kumbaya stuff a lot of people are thinking about, it's just not going to happen. And if you think you're going to go to the woods, like if you only experience you have is maybe going on a camping trip once or twice a year into the woods, you're not, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be rough on you to make it. You know, it's going to be real rough. You need to spend time in the woods. You can learn things by staying in the woods, you know. Get in the woods as much as you can and learn your area. One thing I would highly recommend is to get maps now. Get land maps, topo maps, everything, and learn how to read them. Learn how to use a compass. Learn how to preserve meat, vegetables, and everything like that. You need to learn it now while you still have access to the materials that will teach you, and you still have access to someone who may be willing to show you or help you learn how to do it. You know, if you've got a neighbor that likes to can and you're wanting to learn how, you know, call them up and say, hey, you know, I've got a couple cases of jars. I would like to come over and learn how to can, you know, and bring them something, bring them some jars so they get part of it. You know, you've got to pay to learn, and that's just the way. You're either going to pay by losing everything you're trying to can, or losing meat you're shooting and killing and trying to put up, or you're going to pay as far as saying, all right, you help me with this, I can help you with that, or we'll go in halves on what we're doing here. Because when it goes bad, and eventually if you look around the world today, you will see how bad things are getting. I do not understand these people that say, oh, it's going to go back to normal, we're just in a downward slump. A lot of people won't say this, but a lot of people are planning on the next election to turn everything around. That's not going to happen. I don't even know if we're going to be capable of making it as a society to the next election, when I'm talking about the presidential election. I just don't think so. Guys, it was going slow, and now it's sped up. We're going down fast. You know, some people are talking about the stock market's going to crash or this and that. I've told you before, the stock market is designed to prevent it from crashing now. I believe it has 3 stops in it. You can look it up. It's at a certain percentage. They stop, take a break, they open back up, they stop and take a break when it hits that percentage, and then they close for the day, and then they start back the next day. And if it does it again, it's just like Russia, how Russia just closed their stock market down and said, no, we're not going to do this. We're not going to let everything crash. That's what you'll see. Yes, you're going to lose money if you're invested in it, but it's designed not to crash. It's almost impossible for it to crash now. So all these people telling you, you know, the stock market's going to hit zero, it won't do that. They'll just close. But to get back on point with the wildlife and stuff, you'll hear some people say that all the wildlife will be shot out in a month, 2 months, 3 months. I'm thinking, you know, within a year, you're going to see a big reduction in the amount of wildlife you see in your area. Now, if you're lucky enough to own property or something like that, a big spread that you can control, you'll have a better chance of having more wildlife on it. Anybody that deer hunts knows if that area over there is getting a lot of pressure, and I only go in here and hunt, you know, 1 or 2 days a month, the deer are more than likely going to come in that area to protect themselves. So that's something else you got to learn. You know, get you some books, read up on it, watch videos on YouTube, but I highly recommend you learning how to can, how to preserve meat. Not just canning, you need to learn how to salt, you need to learn how to smoke meat. I mean, these are things you need to be learning now while you're able to learn it. Because when the world goes bad and you've shot a deer and there's no power, if you don't know how to preserve that, you're just going to get a few meals off that animal and you're going to waste the rest. Some people may be okay with that. I'm not. I try to use pretty much every part of the animal I can use, you know. I know people who don't. I know people who just like the back hams and stuff off of them and the back straps. But guys, get out there, like these yard sales, get out there and try to find you. Like this week, we had the Highway 11 yard sale. I was able to find a number 10 manual meat grinder and a number 2 sausage grinder. You know how much I paid for them? I paid a total of $5 for both of them. And both of them are antique. Brought them home, cleaned them up, they're ready to go. things like that you got to think about. You got to be able to use manual power tools like saws, hammers, that kind of stuff. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe, like or dislike the video. Doesn't matter to me. Comment below. I like hearing from y'all. And like I said, we're trying to hit 500 subs by the end of the month. We're at, I believe, a little over 300 now. And I thank every one of you for subscribing. And I share my videos. And I hope everybody out there is having a good day. And get out there and get you some knowledge now while you're able to do it. Videos, your library, old timers in your family or friends that know how to do this stuff. Learn now so when it happens, you're able to, it's something that you don't have to worry about. Everybody stay safe and get out there and get prepared.